Cantor Sharon Khan, and I have the privilege of speaking with Cantor Paul Silbersher. Today is Monday in the beginning of April in 2013, and we are here in Overland Park, Kansas, in Kansas City. And I'm going to start by asking you to state, for the record, who you are and where you're from, and tell us a little bit about the beginnings of yourself and your cantorate.
Well, my name is Paul Silbersher. My middle initial is C, which stands for Cyril. Most people don't know that. I got teased a lot as a kid. I'm from Millburn, New Jersey, and I grew up in a conservative congregation. I started my professional work as a page at NBC early on. I was a student cantor at Temple Emmanuel in Westfield, New Jersey. I entered the cantorial school in 1952, but prior to that I was working as a page at NBC. I was interested in finding something more permanent, full-time, and at the time there were several congregations, one of which was B'nai Yehuda in Kansas City, and that was in 1978, 79. And I called to talk to the senior rabbi, Michael Zedek, and the first thing he said to me, he says, "If you'll be Paul, I'll be Michael." And I thought that's a good arrangement. And so I served there from 79 to 2000 full time, and then the next couple of years I was the teacher of the adult B'nai Mitzvah, and so on. So another couple of years part time. And then after that I started a small congregation called Kol Ami till about 2010. And after that, I retired as a Rabbi Emeritus, and then started another little congregation called Temple Sinai, which is smaller. So I went from a giant congregation to one that was maybe 150 an hour down to 30, and I love it this way. You know, people are kind and friendly and respectful, and I get $1 a year right now. We'll see about it when the time comes for a raise. But
do you remember anything about what HUC was like, when what the training was like, and how that served you as you were coming through those very different pulpit experiences?
Well, it was. The cantor in those days was on the edge, you know, in terms of being clergy. Certainly, we're not like today. This last class was ordained. We were invested. It was a 3-year program. It was nothing, Israel program didn't exist. And we received a Bachelor of Sacred Music degree at the end. And the title, as I said, of Chazan Umoreh. Now I did have the benefit of Dr. Werner and Abraham Wolf-Binder and Lazar Weiner and Isidore Fried, and we were, you know, right next door to the Free Synagogue, Stephen Wise Free Synagogue. That's where Professor Binder held forth. But interesting enough, while he taught in the cantorial school, there was no cantor at that congregation, only a choir. And he would kid us mercilessly at rehearsals, and he said, Chazan, he said, that's the Rashi Tevot, you know, the head letters, an acronym for Chazonim Zayin Aronim, you know, cantors are fools. And I thought, interesting, you're teaching in the cantorial school, you're right, there's a wall between us, and you're signing our Teudah, whatever it is, or giving us credit, whatever, and then you don't have a cantor in your congregation and don't intend to have one. Oh, that was interesting, and that was 40 US 68th Street. And interestingly enough, you know, at that time, all the teachers that I can think of, that's in Cincinnati and New York, were teaching core courses were largely Orthodox renegades. In other words, there's no one who grew up in the Reform movement, rocket ship to Mars and so on, who could teach Talmud.
Mm.
You know, they were all from the Orthodox movement until almost recently, which was interesting that Reform was not able to produce at that time, you know, scholars that could teach these core subjects. Now, Eric Werner was a German PhD, which meant he could speak I don't know, 6 languages or 10 languages, whatever. But he could do something which I had never seen done. I'm sure there are other people who could do that. But he said, "Boys, give me 4 folk songs." Say Stephen Foster's. And he'll take the tune, and he has a cigarette here between his finger and it, and he sits at the piano, and from those 4 themes, on the spot, he improvises a sonata.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, just on the spot. I don't know whether Debbie Friedman was the first one. I got to tell you though, when I got hold of that song, L'Chilach, and heard it for the first time, can't say when that is, probably, I don't know, 25 years ago, I don't know, something like that, 20 years ago. It was while I was at B'nai Yehuda, and I decided to use it for B'nai Mitzvah. People were so taken with that song, they thought I wrote it. And I said, no. I said, if I had written that song, that would have been a Dayenu. I would have stopped and quit and everything. And since that time, that song has been requested at every life cycle event, including funerals. And I changed the words to, you have been a blessing, you are still a blessing, and you shall be a blessing. And I'm grateful for this opportunity to chat with you, Sharon, and to, through this, to say hello to some of my colleagues who remember the times that we shared, and others who maybe only know me from a page of past presidents.
Well, thank you for continuing to teach, because this is a wonderful way for us to, again, have names that are on pages to come alive and to understand where we all come from. And that's a wonderful thing. So thank you for taking the time today to do this.
You're welcome.